The difference between the success of an entrepreneur or a product manager and not success of the product manager is actually customer obsession. This is the place where we get maybe 80% wrong. If we get this right and the other 20 to 30% right, I can guarantee you the success. Okay. So let me go through this real quick. Now, see, when I joined Microsoft, right? For those who don't know, this is Satya Nadella. Apparently, Satya had joined Microsoft a year before I joined. And I remember when I joined, he wrote a book called Hit Refresh. So in his book, right, he says any product manager or any team in Microsoft only focuses on four things: customer, product, partner, and team. Okay. And I was like, okay, interesting. And these are literally the four pillars that we can go discuss. Each of these is a topic in itself. Today, we are only going to talk about the first pillar called customer. Okay. So let me talk about customer as a pillar and go deep into it. Okay. What do I mean by customer obsession, etc., etc. Before I begin, you all would have heard this statement. Anybody who's preparing for product management would have definitely heard this. If I had asked what they wanted, they would have said Faster Horses by Henry Ford. So you know what? I started with this statement. I think, is this the real customer obsession, that customers say that they want something, but entrepreneurs end up shipping something totally different? So are we saying customer obsession is not about listening to our customers because customers don't know what they want? So I actually deep dived. A lot of research went into what is the merit behind this statement, and you will see me joining the dots. So stay with me. Interestingly, for those of us who don't know, Henry Ford, this was the Model T car. Okay. Imagine, I'm talking about 1908. And this gentleman, Henry Ford, sold 15 million Model Ts. And I was like, how intriguing, right? Graduating from horses to a car and 15 million Model Ts sold. And I was thinking that were there 15 million horses that he was trying to replace? Therefore, the customer obsession journey started with Mr. Henry Ford. So you know what? He never said that. It's a made up statement. Rather, my research went all the way back and I found that this statement was first used in a journal in 2001. And that was way after Henry Ford was not with us anymore. So anybody who comes and says, hey, Henry Ford said if I had asked the customers what they want, they would have faster horses. That's not true. Henry Ford never said that. So then why did he invent this car? Why did he end up inventing a Model T that ended up selling 15 million cars in the early 1900s? So let me take you through history and some journey of Mr. Henry Ford, and I will join the dots on customer obsession as we go along. So first of all, my first question that I asked myself was the problem really to go fast? That's where I started. And you will see what I'm applying here is the reverse of customer obsession. That how would Henry Ford have thought of building this car when what he's seeing on the streets are actually horse-driven carts? So horses in these carts were mostly prevalent in north of US and mostly New York. And everybody stayed close by. They were not like far reaching that somebody is traveling from all the way from Michigan to New York or something like that. That was not the case. People used to work and people used to farm and they used to stay. Things were close by. There was very limited need to go fast. Mostly big farmers were the owners of horses and mules that they were using for farming, and they would often go travel here and there, right? There were very few people who were living outside the town also, and they were those few people who were owning horses. Apparently, horse owners were called the elitist. You would be interesting to find that in Spanish, gentleman means caballero, and caballero actually means horseman. And that's the derivation, that somebody who can own a horse is actually a gentleman or a very rich elitist person, right? Quite interestingly, what I thought was, by this time I started questioning, if people didn't have the need to go fast, and that's what Mr. Henry Ford said, that people would have asked for faster horses. There was no need to go fast. Rather, the poor man's horse was the bicycle. So you should know that the bicycle was invented by then. But then what was the problem that this guy was solving? I just couldn't understand. Why did he want to make cars if there was no problem? Then I researched more about horses. Okay, horse was a very big problem. You remember I talked about 15 million cars sold? Only in New York City there was 150,000 horses. These horses were creating manure, they were creating poop, they were urinating on the streets. 3 million pounds of poop, 40,000 gallons of urine. You know what the biggest problem was? Was not poop and urine. The problem was if a horse falls down, there were orders in the constitution to go shoot that horse down and kill it. Why? Because all of you know that once a horse is down, it's practically useless. You cannot generate enough value from the horse, and therefore that killing of the horse would cause obstruction. It would slow the things down. Horses are also one of the most common causes of diseases like typhoid and diarrhea, etc., etc. More than 200 people were killed in US because of these horse related accidents. And one very interesting thing is the cost of the horse. Make note of this. A normal horse would cost $250. Maintenance of the cost was around $200 a year. And an average lifespan of a horse was 2 years. Therefore, typically a horse would die in 2 years. Therefore, the total lifetime cost of a horse is $650. Why am I telling you all of this? These were the problems of the day. Need to go fast was never the problem. So if somebody comes and tell you that Henry Ford said that I wanted to go fast and customers wouldn't know, etc., etc., tell them no, no, no. The problem was horse poop. Therefore, he invented cars. Very interestingly, at that time, the most thriving business was liveries or liveries. What they would do is outside the city, they would buy and rent horses. The other big business is there were more than 14,000 carriage makers. Look at this very holistically. I am talking about competition. Competition is horse. I am talking about related industries, libraries and carriage making companies. I am already giving you an anchor price. For those who have not attended the class on pricing, go review it. There is an anchor price that is there in the minds of the people. The anchor price is $650 for a horse. And then there are all these problems about horses killing and horses getting killed and causing obstruction and then pooping and urinating, etc., etc. Horses were a big problem, not the speed of the horse. There was no need for people to go faster. Then I was like, okay, hang on. Horse poop is a problem, and this gentleman ended up creating a car, a Model T that sold 15 million. Something is not adding up, yeah. Something has to happen in the middle, right? Somebody would have done some MVP. We talk about MVP all the time, right? Somebody would have kuch to banaya hoga bhai. Somebody would have done something, right? And then I started thinking, there has to be something that happened between these 1900s when horses were being killed on the streets and 1908 when the Model T was launched. You know what was happening? By the way, Model T was launched in 1908. This is the very first advertisement of Model T. It came on page 29 on Saturday Evening Post saying, guys, Model T, look at the anchor price, $850. Look at the second thing, 20 horse power. What does that mean? Your one horse was costing $650. I'm giving you something which can replace 20 freaking horses for $850. It's a bargain, right? I'm sure you cannot read the advertisement. I had to enlarge it multiple times and read every word of it. And this, because I wanted to understand what was Henry Ford trying to differentiate on? Did he ever say, this car can go super fast? And you'd be surprised to see. These are the things that Henry Ford had in his first advertisement. Look at this carefully. 20 horsepower, $850 car, equal value with any 1909 car. Oof. There were cars in 1909. Model T was not the first car. This is Henry Ford saying himself in his advertisement, right? It sells for several hundreds of dollars less than any other car. He talks about using vanadium steel, easy access to moving parts of the engine, weighing only 1200 pounds. You know what the weight of a horse is? 1200 pounds. Gasoline capacity of 10 gallons. He was solving the problem of going further, not faster. He said no apologies for price, which means this price is competitive. And very interestingly, at the end, he says reputation of Henry Ford is at stake, because if you know Henry Ford, you will buy this car. And I got so intrigued. I was like, oh my goodness, there were cars selling before Model T. The problem that he was trying to solve is going further, not going faster. And reputation of Henry Ford means Henry Ford was doing something before this, right? So then I went into understand what else was happening. And this is what I found. This is an advertisement before 1908. It's actually 1907. And you see, before Model T came Model C, Model F, Model B, and the light bulb went off. I was like, this guy was shipping MVPs after MVPs and we didn't know about it. Those MVPs, look at the cost in the advertisement. $950, $1,200, $2,000, $950 for these cars. Way more expensive than Model T. He was shipping MVPs after MVPs, trying to see the perfect go-to-market strategy and perfect price point that customers cannot say no to. And therefore, and by the way, here I found he is talking about no failures and no freak accidents because of their Model C, F and B, which happened before Model T, by the way. Then I got intrigued again. No failures, no freaks. No freaks I can understand with horses. Horses can go, maybe you can fall off the horse, die, etc., etc. Failures? Like, how would horses fail you? Then I was like, yeah, kuch to chal raha hai. Because there has to be something before the Model C, F and B as cars that are prone to failure, right? Between the horse and the Model C, there has to be something else. More research helped me find that that is when the steam engine was invented. All the investments that were happening were with steam cars. And steam cars had a very big problem. Steam cars had a problem of failure, freak accidents. And here is one of the earliest steam cars. Look at this, 2,800 pounds, nearly 3 times the weight of a horse, which means this guy cannot go further. Not only that, the biggest problem was every driver, because you need time to generate steam, they will have to wait for 20 to 30 minutes for the car to start. Imagine ignition and then you wait for half an hour for the car to start. Then only you can move. And then मेरे को चमका यार. मैंने कहा, damn, this guy, Henry Ford, was never competing against horses. People just understood horses as the power, therefore 20 horsepower even against a steam engine car. This guy was really competing against steam engine cars. That was the problem, because that's what he was advertising. And these are some of the steam engine cars. You see, a steam engine car running in the streets of New York had a bust of a horse so that horses don't get scared, right? And these were all the cars that Henry Ford created as MVP. A, B, C, F, K, N, R, and S before Model T was launched. And all this while I thought Model T was the first car. Absolutely incorrect. Rather, Model A, or maybe a model before Model A, was actually a steam engine operated car. And lo and behold, this is the summary. These are all the models that Henry Ford actually created. In these years, it took him 6 years or maybe 5 years to perfect the actual car. And you will see he will keep interplaying with various combinations. The weight, you will see it increasing, decreasing. The horsepower, you will see it increasing, decreasing. The color, so many colors being used, but he finalized on black. Look at the price, $850 for a 20 horsepower car, which means 20 horses worth of power at the cost of one horse, right? Look at it and start comparing it against steam engine cars. This guy was a freaking genius. He never competed with the horse. He competed with steam engine cars. He competed against the liveries. He competed against the wagon makers who were making wagons for the horses. He completely decimated that market by creating a Model T. And look at this. $850 car in 1908 with hardly any changes in 16 years being sold for $290. And I'm not kidding. This is an advertisement from 1924. Same Model T selling for $295 because by this time he had perfected the supply chain and perfected the manufacturing. $300 worth of a car. And by the way, this $300 worth of a car is the price of a Nano, today's Nano. So Model T was the actual Nano of the 1920s. That's what this gentleman did. And he ripped apart the wagon industry as well. The wagon industry was very popular in agriculture. He attached Model T with grooves and that became your world's first tractor. And he decimated the agriculture industry as well by introducing the same vehicle. This is when he started expanding horizontally. Okay, enough of Henry Ford. And I will tell you what these learnings are as we go along. So let me rephrase what Henry Ford would have said. If I had asked what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. But what people really meant was safer and economical means of transport. I will again say what people wanted versus what people meant. Why am I giving you this gyan? The reason I'm giving you this gyan is there is a difference between a want and a need. And this is where I begin my conversation on customer obsession. Customer obsession is this journey from wants to needs. And we will deep dive into this. What do I mean by a want? Want is a stated want. I will say it from my mouth. I want this. My son will say, I want to go to the mall. I want to watch TV. I want a break. You say it with your mouth. You hardly state your needs with your mouth. That's why they're unstated. I'll give you some examples. I want to be famous. What's my need? My need is acceptance. I want to be rich. What's my need? My need is financial security. I want to go to the mall. My son said this to me yesterday and therefore I wrote it. What was his need? His need was joy. His need was maybe disconnect from what is happening here, right? He would never come and say, Papa, I want to feel joyous. Nobody says that, right? Therefore, this journey, this was, by the way, me before my marriage. I wanted a treadmill. And you'll be like, oh, treadmill is a need, right? Nah. My need was to impress my then girlfriend, my now wife, because I was slightly overweight. So I wanted to run and impress her. So you see, my needs are totally different from my wants. Twitter says, and this is real, by the way, when Twitter was launched, and I'm not saying X because it was Twitter at that time, there what Jack Dorsey saw was people tweeting, and after a bunch of tweets, they would say, can you share your email, please? I would love to talk to you in person. What do you think the need was at that time? You can come on off mute and speak out. What do you think was the need when people just wanted to have a private conversation over an email address?
Like
Anybody?
speaking like in person and like not having like a public discussion maybe.
A need can be summarized in one or two words.
Okay.
What is that need?
Personal
One to
connect,
one connect.
long conversation.
Long conversation is a want. I want to have a long conversation with you, not a need.
Confidential conversation.
You're right. Privacy. My need is privacy. I want to talk to you in private, right? My privacy is the need. Starbucks, I want iced chocolate, almond, milkshake and espresso. Why did I write it? Because the first time I went to US, there was a guy in front of me who actually ordered this. And I was like, "Ye kya mang raha hai? What is he asking for?" By that time, Starbucks was not in India. And I was like, what did he just order? What do you think his need was?
Refreshment.
Choice. I'll keep going. Yahoo. This is an actual problem. Yahoo, there at that time, their CTO went to a very prestigious university and said, guys, we have a problem. The biggest problem that Yahoo is facing right now is bots are creating millions of emails. We limit the total number of emails per account to 50. There are bots who are continuously creating emails and spamming the world over. It became a, a, a very big problem for Yahoo. What do you think was the need?
Customer convenience.
Okay, convenience. Yahoo's need. Sure.
Maybe AI segregation of spam and other emails.
That's a
Segregation
solution.
of-
That's a
okay.
solution. What's the need? See, needs are difficult to find, right? See how we are struggling. Needs are difficult. And that's why I'm saying this journey is what makes you customer obsessed. And it's not an easy journey. What is the need?
Multiple emails.
No. Multiple emails is the problem. What's the
Maybe
need?
reduce the use infra
To
cost.
retain the customers.
Okay, customer retention. The need was security and affordability. Why security? Because from Yahoo's perspective, this entire unmanageability of mails was becoming a security threat. Number two, they were just not able to scale because those bots were not willing to pay them, right? And it was a huge cost impact to Yahoo. I want food at my doorsteps. This is an easy one. What's the need?
Convenience.
Convenience. Thank you. Thank you, Sambay.
Yeah.
Yes, the need is convenience. I again repeat, for someone who feels that there is a need to be customer obsessed, you need to travel this hard path from stated wants to unstated needs. You want to see what these stated wants to unstated needs were? Again, what do you think ended up as a product when Jack Dorsey saw people messaging people saying, hey, can you please share your email address? This turned out to be a feature.
DM
Yes,
the
private messages.
Yeah.
This feature was built because he saw customers saying, can you please share your email to Jack Dorsey himself? Because they wanted to have a private conversation with Jack Dorsey. It became a feature. What do you think was the product capability that was created because somebody in the line said, I want iced chocolate, almond, milkshake and espresso?
Customized drink.
You're absolutely right. Do you know Starbucks offers 170,000 customizations of their drinks every day? What was the solution for these bots creating millions of emails?
marketing probably, like
No.
from creation to like
ML
from the
tools to segregate.
No. My son is standing here and he has given me the right answer. Come on, you can do it.
I'm not a robot identification.
Yes, you're right. CAPTCHA. CAPTCHA
Gotcha.
was the solution. I encourage you to read and read about the founder of CAPTCHA, who is now the founder of Duolingo, and how he used crowdsourcing as a solution to disallow bots from creating millions of emails. CAPTCHA was created because of this very small Yahoo problem. I am busy and I cannot go and eat food outside. Convenience. What ended up happening when this want came from people?
Delivery.
What
Zomato.
product built?
Zomato, Swiggy, food delivery apps.
Yes, food delivery apps, Uber Eats. You are absolutely right. Now you see the distance between a stated want and an unstated need goes through a killer product feature or a killer product itself. This is the journey that we will traverse together. We will traverse this path from stated wants to unstated needs. I also want to clarify, stated wants are equally important. At times, your customers will come and tell you, I want this. And when they say, I want this, they really mean it. ऐसा नहीं कि tomorrow somebody comes and says, hey, I want tea. And you're like, nah, there is something hidden. You need love and not tea. No, that's not the case. If somebody says I need tea, maybe they need tea. But we need to have our antennas on as entrepreneurs and product managers to decipher what is a want and what is a need. At times, a stated want is a stated want. At times, a stated want is not what the customer needs. And I will talk about it and you'll see live examples of this. Alrighty. Step number 1 as a product manager. This is where you start taking notes. All right. Step number 1. Effective product managers and entrepreneurs first make sure that there is some medium available for customers to state their wants. I have personally talked to entrepreneurs who forgot to create a channel for customers to even reach out to them. The only channel was emails. And trust me, nobody uses emails. How many times have you emailed a product company saying, I have a problem? Hardly ever. You search for where can I go and share feedback? Is there a button on the product? More often than not, you will do it. Effective product managers use one or all of these methods. You blog about your product, and you don't blog about your product for marketing. You wait for comments. Somebody will come back and say, hey, this is bakwas. It didn't work. You use social media. You go to Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. You start advertising your product, and then you look at comments. Did somebody like it? Not like it? Ratings and reviews, interviews, personal conversations with your customers, emails, chats, user voice software. There are so many ways. Again, I'm saying there to be an effective entrepreneur or product manager, at least give your customers the opportunity to state their want. Unstated needs can come through observation. I often say that the best insights you can get from your customer is by being a fly on the wall when the customer is using your product. Just sit, relax, and see how he's using it. You cannot ask the right questions to figure out the problem than what you can see by observation. Data. Are you capturing data from your product on the customer usage, data, telemetry, etc.? Great way to get to unstated needs, and I will demo it to you how. In Microsoft, I wanted to show you. In Microsoft, you can just search for Microsoft feedback, and you will see every single product from Microsoft listed here. Microsoft Teams, Outlook, Xbox, Microsoft To Do. You can also come here and click on this send feedback and start getting some feedback, right? You can really see the popularity of the product by looking at the amount of feedback that it has received, right? You can see nearly 19,000 feedback for Teams. And if I go deeper, you will see it's not only important for you to open that channel for customers to give feedback, it's even more important for you to be at the top of the game to keep replying to the customer, making sure that the customer understands that he or she has been heard. You see, enable user to reply on a specific message in the conversation in Teams. This feature was shipped a long time back, and you can see, hey, we are thrilled because of your feedback. We have built this feature and so on and so forth, right? And you will keep seeing this multiple times. Hey, allow us to delete private chats. Can you believe it? 1 year ago in Teams, you could not even delete a chat. And we are happy to share that this feature is done almost a year back. So you need to be active on that forum that you've just exposed to your customers. You can't just say, hey, there's a forum created, please share your feedback. I will check every month. It doesn't work like that. That's the only channel you have given to your customers to state their wants. Now, please allow us to delete private chats. It's a want. बहुत simple है भैया. Allow me to delete my private chat. The need is privacy, but allow me to delete it first, right? So very simple. The feature is right click, delete private chat. There is nothing earth shattering here. I also want to show you, I talked about two mediums, right? One was all of this blog, whatever, to get to stated needs. I also talked about being a fly on the wall to get to unstated needs. I want to give you a real life example of how I used this fly on the wall along with data to marry those two together and actually build a feature. Would you like to see it?
Yes.
Okay. So this product is called Azure DevOps. Long time back, I was a product manager there. And basically what you're seeing is a Kanban board, right? You move your items from one one particular column to another. This helps you in planning. For those who are not aware of what a Kanban board is, you just click it, drag it, and you move it from one column to another. Now, I was a fly on the wall. This is what I observed. That person, right? You see these numbers 1403304. He would actually come here, open this view, start typing 1403304. Oh, he found it. But let's say he typed 9. He didn't find it. And then he will go about opening another board and start searching for this number, saying, where is my item? Where is my backlog item, right? And I said, oh my goodness, what is he doing? Why is he doing like that? I never knew that this is a problem, right? And I was like, okay, let me see how other people are doing it. And that's when I started using data to see how are people even searching for a work item. This is called a work item using ID. By the way, for me, I had never searched a work item using ID. I felt, who remembers IDs, yeah? Why would you search with 1403304? For me, an ID was like an IP address. You to go to google.com or you go to 192.138. You don't do that, right? So I was like, why are people searching using IDs? And then I figured out people search using IDs because they are given Excel sheets that have IDs and names, and then they will just double click on the ID and they try to search from that. Why? Because names can be redundant. I can have multiple work items with the same name. I cannot have multiple work items with the same ID. तब मेरे को चमका रही यार, people are searching using ID. Therefore, I shipped this feature 1403304. You see, I press it and you can see my ID shows up right here. Second feature that I shipped, which I realized while he was working, was, damn, if he's creating these new work items, the very first thing that he wants to do is, after he is created, the possibility of him clicking on that work item again is very high. Again, he would create and then try to find where did that work item go, and then he will try to edit. And therefore, I shipped this feature. You click on it and you see your recent work items. I want to clarify. It was not that I saw the fly on the wall and I was like, "Yaar, this guy is doing it, therefore I'll ship this feature." It doesn't work like that. Maybe he's a outlier. Maybe that's one customer who's doing things the way he likes and maybe others are not doing it, right? That's where data comes into picture. So I will show you how in Microsoft we actually capture data. I'm on the same feature. I click on this search bar, right? You see, the moment I click on this search bar, this is the network tab. And in network tab, you're seeing something getting fired, right? So you see, this is data from that single click. You can see, I will expand this. I will expand this. And you can see that within 377 milliseconds, when I clicked on this recent work item showed up. It also tells me that a recent board was fetched. Yes, a recent board was fetched. What board is fetched? I don't need to know. It's PII. I don't care. That's where I'm not tracking it. But I need to know that within 377 milliseconds, you fetched a board. When you click it, I will track it. Let me open this. Not performance. Let me open this. See this. I am saying the moment you clicked on this search bar, some work item suggestions were shown. How much time did it take? Okay, time to fetch 2.5 milliseconds. You know why I started tracking time? Because when I shipped this feature, when I shipped the experiment to the feature, I click on this and nothing appears. And I realize the moment people click, they start typing. And then my this drop down would never be visible to someone. Therefore, I had to track the performance time, and I found that if I am able to fetch the first result in under 5 milliseconds, then people will look at my results. And therefore, you see, the time to fetch is 2.5 milliseconds, less than 5 milliseconds, because 5 milliseconds is the time you take to click on this and start typing. I wanted to break that. And therefore, you see, I'm tracking that also. That and by the way, as I type, you will see more events are getting fired. You see all these events getting fired. I'm actually tracking that. Oh, you searched, you typed something. I don't know what you typed. That's your personal data. But I know that you typed within the first 10 milliseconds. Why am I capturing this data? This data is giving me your unstated need. Do you think a user will come to me and say, Sandeep, I go to the search bar, I type within 5 milliseconds, your results come in 10 milliseconds, therefore I'm not able to see. No, yaar. None of your customers will come back and say all of this to you. That is why data is important. That's why being fly on the wall is important. That person was super happy copying those work items from the Excel sheet into the board and trying to figure out the way he's doing, right? Because the customer feels that's the right way and the only way to do it, because I'm paralyzed by the capabilities of the product. As a product manager, when you start observing your customers, when you start capturing data, you will get insights that no customer conversation can give you, period. And that's your path from stated wants to unstated needs. So number one, ensure that there are mediums available for your customers to express their wants. And you have to track those mediums religiously. It's your religion. Once you travel from those wants to the unstated needs, I will tell you what will happen. Magic will happen. Number two, remember, when you ship the stated wants of the customer, all you are shipping are table stakes. The customer in their mindset will be very thankful, but they'll be like, yeah, I asked, you shipped, big deal. That's in the mindset. They'll be thankful that you listened to me. Thank you for listening to me. But that's what they were expecting, right? Isn't it? How happy are your parents when they are expecting you to get 80 out of 100 and you get 80 out of 100? They'll be happy, but they'll not be like crazy happy. When you accomplish their unstated needs, you are creating differentiators, delighters. Let me show you some delighters. We know the iPhone. Do you think any customer would have gone and told Apple, I would love to have a device where I can make phone calls and track emails and browse internet and listen to music? No, nobody would have said it. But did not Apple create fans? Absolutely. Look at this, ChatGPT. Has anybody ever gone and thought, oh, I would love to be in a world where I type and somebody basically narrates a story to me? No, nobody would have said it. But that's where the unstated need come. How many of us are hooked on to ChatGPT or at least used it once in our life? Amazing, right? These are differentiators. People are like the kind of people who are getting associated with this technology is amazing. Anybody knows what this is?
Vacuum
Vacuum
cleaner.
cleaner?
What vacuum cleaner? That's important.
Vacuum cleaner.
What vacuum cleaner?
Robotic.
No. Read about it. It's the Dyson vacuum cleaner, the first bagless vacuum cleaner. When Dyson made this vacuum cleaner, no person in the world said, I have a problem with the bag in which I will collect dust, because that's the only way customers know how to operate that device. Nobody would say it. It's an unstated need. But do people want cleanliness? Yes. Do people want convenience? Yes. Obviously, right? When Dyson shipped this bagless vacuum cleaner, it became a crazy hit in US. It's one of the most, these are very small inventions. Now, these are big products that you've seen, right? Small inventions. I am going out for a vacation and my trees will die. Beautiful. I will create a dropper that will drop water in your plants. Today, how do I solve this problem? I will say, Arey, my neighbor, please keep my plant, right? So very small invention, but an unstated need getting solved. I'll talk about small inventions now. Look at this. I loved it. How many times for those who are into DIY stuff, lose their nails and oh, nail is dropped. Where is it? I don't know where is it, etc., etc. Happens, right? Magnetic wristband. How cool, convenient, right? When trying to figure out where the nail is, would be struggling to figure out, where is the next nail? Where did I keep it? Can't find it. Simple solution, right? It's an unstated need. So remember one thing, when you address a stated want of a customer, you create visitors, users, and customers. Very, very, very important. Can somebody tell me whom do you create when you address an unstated need of a customer?
Loyal fans, raving fans.
Yes, you create fans, you create evangelists. People will go in forums and talk about you. You want to see how fans look like? This is how fans look like. This guy's just purchased a freaking phone. How many times have you purchased a phone and got this kind of applause? Look at this. She's just purchased an iPhone. This is iPhone 6 launch. Look at the people. These two guys were the first two people to get an iPhone 6. There are media covering these guys. That's how fans look like. In your products, are you able to create fans? That's the question I want you to ask yourself. Look at this. Are people queuing up to buy your product? They're actually queued up to buy an iPhone. This is how fans look like. They are people that you ship a bug in the phone and they will say this is a feature. This is how it ought to be. Great product managers and entrepreneurs identify and address the unstated needs to make fans. I'll repeat. Great product managers identify and address unstated needs to make fans. Now, customer obsession. Huh? There are some problems with customer obsession. Building products without talking to customers. Sounds atrocious, happens all the time. Typically, entrepreneurs will feel, oh, I have this great insight. Yaar, we will do this way. I will fail fast and I will try to do something very quickly and let me try and I will do it and I will raise some seed money and let me do it. That's not fail fast. That's called foolishness fast. You do not ship products, build capabilities without understanding even the stated want of your customer. I am telling you, this happens all the time. You feel you understand the pulse of your customer so well that you forget to talk to your customer. Happens all the time. It's not an exception. It's an 80% problem. Okay. Number two, I know what my customers want already because I am also a customer. Another very big problem. If you are a customer and you wish to use your own product, you are just one voice. There are 10 other voices. Go talk to them. Get off your chair. Go to the field. Understand what their want is. I'm not even saying need. Are understand their want, bhaiya. What if their want is different from yours? Happens all the time. In entrepreneurship, this happens all the time. I'm a student. I had problem with getting notes. I will create a note making app. Talk to others here. Do they have the same problem? Maybe you are a topper. Maybe you're creating this app only for toppers. Or maybe you're a laggard and you're creating this app for laggards. Talk to others. Hippo effect. Somebody knows what is the hippo effect except for Nikhil, I believe, because I talked to Nikhil about this.
Yeah.
You know what's the hippo effect? Nobody? Nobody should know because I coined this term. Hippo effect is highest paid person's opinion. Highest paid person's opinion. A lot of us as budding product managers will get into a call with a senior director and a VP of product, etc., etc. And the VP of product will say, hey, Samveg, I have this idea and I think so we should do this. And I shouldn't take Samveg's name, maybe Sandeep. Let's do this. And how is Sandeep thinking? VP of product has said, I have to ship it. Come what may. And I have to look good. And I have to make sure that this gets into the hands of the VP. No, bhaiya. No. Products are not built that way. The again the high, and this does not mean that your VP of product says something and you say, I'll not build it. That's not what I'm saying. So please don't have an argument with your VP of product or CVP or chief product officer, right? What I'm saying is that voice is also important, but that is one of the voice, not the only voice. Your VP of product will be 10 times happier if you were to go back and say, you had this great suggestion. I did this research, reached out to 10 customers. You told 10 things, out of which 2 things resonate with the rest of the customers. The 8 things we should take up later. I'm not throwing your VP of product or CPO under the train, but this is not their problem. This is our problem. When somebody senior comes and tells us, again, the highest paid person's opinion, that this is how we should do, we assume it to be a command, not as a suggestion. Beware of the hippo effect. It's our mindset that will drown the product and us. Happened with me. Another problem, I will only hear what I wish to hear. This is called a bias. Okay. Why? Because I have a solution in my mind, right? I already know what I'm going to build. Therefore, everything that the customer says that aligns with what I am thinking, brilliant. Those are the only points I've jotted down. And these are the only things that I will speak vociferously. No. When you talk to your customer, you brainwash yourself and try to understand what the customer is saying, not listening to the customer with your set of biases. Very, 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 very big problem with every single PM, every single entrepreneur, every single, in no matter with how big the company is, Microsoft, Google, and any name a company, very big problem. Last, I will do exactly as my customer says. I think so. I will not delve deep into it. I've already talked about it. Customer may want something. Customer may want a world-class sweeping company that can remove the poop from the horse. That's what the customer wants, right? We are not going to open a business for poop cleaners. We will make cars, Model T, after shipping model A, B, C, D, E, F. All right. So at times your customers may say something. You have the responsibility to travel down the journey from the want to the need. And then what do you do? And I'll talk about it. So how do you traverse from the stated want to the unstated need? A lot of things you need to do. 9 things to be precise. Number 1, what's the problem that you solve? Do you understand the want of the customer? I'll not say stated want, unstated need, none of that. So have you talked to your customers? What do they want? Have you tried to figure out what do they need? Who are your customers? Number 2, have you connected with the right customers? How many customers have you talked to? What's your hypothesis? Number 3, what's the problem hypothesis that you're trying to solve? Do you understand the problem? What's your perspective? See, the journey from 1 to 3 is 1 is what the customer says. 3 is your interpretation of the problem. That's the difference between whether you'll do a poop sweeping company or you will go manufacture a car. What's your hypothesis of the problem? This is where the PM and entrepreneur's creativity counts. Do you have some questions? Have you put a questionnaire in front of the customer? Have you talked to your customers? Have you scheduled interviews with your customers? Number 5, have you talked to them? Or is it just a survey that was sent out and survey results have come and now you have yes, no, and based on that you will build a product? Have you talked to 10 people? Have you scheduled those interviews? Have you observed them? Did you learn from that observation? If you see, first 6 items are all about problem. Is all about, did you understand the problem right? For those who are attending this conversation for the first time, you will hear me say this multiple times. Be it your interview or be it your product, try to fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Try to understand the problem first. Problem is 70% of product management. Once you've understood the problem, then jump into the solution. Happens in interviews all the time. Can you help me create something? Sure, these are the 10 features that I will do. No, 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 no. Understand the problem first. That is 70% of my product management journey. 30% solution. We'll talk about it later. I will help you with this. Number one, have you identified the stated want and the unstated need? How do you identify the problem? Very simple. You have to articulate what job is not done. The job that is not done is the problem. Let me take an example. This is a very interesting quote from Theodore. He said, people don't want quarter drills. They want quarter-inch holes. So people are asking for a quarter-inch hole. Whether you make it with a half-inch drill, 2-inch drill, 5-inch drill, does not matter. Fall in love with the problem. The problem is a quarter-inch hole. Whether you make a quarter-inch drill or a 5-inch drill is the product that you ship. Understand what the people are wanting and needing. What you ship is secondary. So again, have you understood what job is not done? Let's go back to Mr. Ford. People have a need to go faster from one point to another to spare more time for themselves and their families. I am speaking on behalf of Henry Ford. Maybe this is how he would have written the problem, right? Maybe this is that stated want and the unstated need. Stated want, I want to go from one place to another. Unstated need, I want to spend time with my family, right? Once you've done that, have you connected with the right customer? Who's your customer? What job is not done was the problem. Whose job is not done is the customer. So many people are confused. Who is my user? Who is my customer? Who's the persona? Talk to the person whose job is not done here. That's your customer. That's your user. Go to that person. Okay. So we get confused. Who should I go talk to? That also happens. So who's the user and the customer for Mr. Henry Ford? Users are family members. Anybody who has the opportunity to sit in the car is a user. Customer is everyone who has the need to travel at least 1 month. Maybe he owns or rents a steam engine car or a horse-driven cart. That's how he would have thought, right? That at least you should have a horse or a cart, or you should have rented one at least in 1 month. That's my marketing pitch to those people and they will buy my car. Once that is done, you have to write down your problem hypothesis. Again, listen. 1 was the customer's want and need. 3 is your interpretation of that problem. I'm giving you a formula to write hypothesis. I believe that so-and-so customer is most frustrated about accomplishing this job because of this problem. This last part, this problem is the most important. That's where 1 and 2, or customer or the job that is not done, you can get by talking to customers. Problem, you have to figure it out, right? So maybe Henry Ford's hypothesis is, I believe that owners of steam run cars or horse cars are most frustrated about spending endless hours and money in maintaining these vehicles and horses because steam run vehicles are crap. They have very high running costs and it slows people down and now they can't spend time with their families. Okay, 1, 2, 3, park. 99% of the PM make these problems. In whatever company I go to, take these notes. Write questions to validate your hypothesis. What questions you should not ask? You should not ask close-ended questions, one-liners, answers that can be given in yes or no, something that validates your own solution, leading questions where you're leading the customer in one direction, questions that seek to check the customer's knowledge itself. Don't ask that, bhaiya. I'll give you examples of customer questions that you should not ask. Imagine I'm Henry Ford and I go and ask, hey, do you struggle traveling from work to home? The answer is a yes or a no. How poor is your traveling experience? It's a leading question. I've already told poor. It means the person will only complain. Hey, do these horses give you problems while traveling? 99% of people will go and say yes, right? Because I've led you with a problem. I never gave you the opportunity to think wide. Hey, would you prefer a motorized vehicle over a horse? I have a solution in mind. I'm just validating it. Hey, what are your thoughts on vanadium-based chassis? Vanadium? How many of us know the metal with which our chassis is made? No, no. So never test the knowledge of the customer. What are good questions to ask? Henry Ford may have asked these questions. Can you describe your journey from traveling? Can you share examples of what works and what does not work for you? What are your biggest frustrations in travel today? What workarounds have you implemented to solve these problems? This is the number one question to ask a customer. What workaround has the customer implemented? That, see, because at times you say, hey, do you want oranges? Customer will say yes. Na? Why would the customer say no if you're giving them for free? But if the customer has really gone out of the way to solve his own or her own problem, then you know that the problem is real. The customer is not just talking for the heck of it. The customer is bleeding, yaar. We really need to help them. Question number 4 is very important. And question number 5, if you had a magic wand that can fix your travel woes, then what would that ideal world look like? You are not asking the customer and pinning that customer down on their knowledge. You are just asking, what does utopia look like? Innovative answers will come here. Okay, I've skipped scheduling interviews. All of us are good at that. But knowing your customer is important, okay? Who is your customer? That's important. You go schedule your interviews, then listen and observe and learn. Do not make the interviewer feel lower of themselves. We end up doing it. So many times I've seen in such research studies where the customer feels, I'm not qualified enough to speak. Ouch. Don't do that. Look for what the interviewer says and watch their emotions. I have got more hints from the customer's frown when I ask them something than what they spoke, because the frown hinted that they are uncomfortable. Talk to as many customers as possible until you start seeing repetition. You can't go and talk to 500 customers, but you can't go and talk to 2 customers also. Find that perfect balance. For me, it has always worked to talk to around 8 to 9 unique customers. When I do that, I see repeated patterns. As a PM, you make the call. What conversations seek to validate or invalidate your hypothesis? Be equally married to invalidating your hypothesis. Then comes the easy part, creating a solution hypothesis, right? We build a wireframe, right? Build some spec, but validate your solution also with the customer the same way you validated the problem. Present it to the customer and see what the customer has to say. If you're an entrepreneur, go launch it on Kickstarter.com and see whether you're getting the revenue and the validation, right? When you validate, again, rinse and repeat on questions, but don't forget to ask the 2 very important questions. Number 1, if the customer had $100 and wanted to split across all these problems, where would the customer invest? This is a classic question to validate prioritization calls from the customer. You say, hey, you want this? Customer says yes. 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 Will you be able to do those 4 things? No. You have to figure out where is the customer bleeding the most, and then you prioritize that. Second, again, a very big problem. Oh, you want this? Sure. You want this? Sure. You want this? Sure. Will you pay for it? Nah. I will give you a classic example. How many of us feel that our aeroplanes should have more legroom? All of us. How many of us are willing to pay for it? None of us. So that's a want for which there is no business value. Therefore, you will never get larger legrooms in your airplane. So stop complaining about it because there is limited business value. You won't pay for it. Therefore, that problem is null and void. I won't solve it. And then simple, ship your solution and learn from it. Ship your model A, C, F, B, G, whatever you want to ship until you ship your model T. Because model T will ship 15 million cars. A, C and F will ship few hundreds. But the learning you will get from A, C and F is going to be important for you to ship that model T car, which will make you the maximum bang for buck. With this, I want to conclude and say product management is neither science nor art. It's a craft. You have to do it again and again and again and again to get better at it. You need to interview again. You will see the quality of your interview goes gradually up as you talk to your first customer versus you talk to your 10th customer. You iterate your designs, right? Customer obsession is just one ingredient to perfect this craft. There are many other ingredients, but this is the salt of your food. Without this, you cannot eat the food. Without customer obsession, you cannot build products. Period. With this, I want to thank you.